Ah, zombies. They're the natural counterpart of plants, and with many of them having quite unique properties and abilities, it makes for a very interesting and balanced gameplay experience. But what if we took that away? You see, I'm on a mission to break my favorite childhood game in ways that have never been seen before. Hi, I'm Samen, and in this series I'll be focusing on pushing PvZ to its most outer limits with the most mind-blowing challenges you all thought were impossible to beat. Today we'll be attempting to beat Plants vs Zombies, with zombies having a whopping 12 times more health than usual. And just to illustrate to you how dumb this challenge really is, regular basic zombies will not need 10, but instead 110 Ps now to successfully die. But wait, shouldn't he tank 120 Ps, since we've increased the health for every single zombie by exactly 12 times? I promise you, this will all make sense in just a moment. Also, here's a clip of Buckethead zombies surviving 8 entire explosions. Oh god. One last thing before we begin though. There's a solid chance you've already seen one of these two videos from J-Chan here. If you did, and if you really think there's no meaningful difference between zombies having 10 times or 12 times more health, then I advise you to simply skip this video to the pool timestamp. And now, back to the video. We begin our misery with level 1-1 and we already enter our very first roadblock in this challenge. How do we actually beat it? The normal way of doing it just doesn't work, the zombies are just too strong, and with very limited options we have, we must find a way to make this even possible. Luckily for us, there's this one game mechanic in PvZ that allows us to collect infinite sun before the first zombie ever appears, by simply waiting before planting our second pea shooter down. By ignoring the game's advice, we can simply stall the zombies with our meat shield pea shooters. Yes, that's right, instead of using them for the damage, since that would quite literally be pointless in this challenge, we use them as cannon fodder instead, to stall the zombies for as long as possible for our lawnmowers to do the rest of the work. Entering level 1-2, we face a very similar problem, but this time the zombies won't wait on us. Except, they kinda do? You see, if planting exactly 2 sunflowers down, we get an additional 50 seconds of zombies not spawning. By doing this, we are able to save up a lot of sun before the first wave of zombies spawns. Unfortunately though, zombies are still strong for our pea shooters to handle, so thankfully we've unlocked sunflower for that problem. We also get to exploit our second game mechanic in this run. Upon the activation of a lawnmower, no zombie will ever spawn in the same lane for exactly 2 waves. Originally intended to help out new players with the game, this helps us to progress on the challenge by systematically eliminating the last wave in certain rows. And then I saw this. We finally get to kill our very first zombies thanks to the power of Cherry Bomb, and as I killed my very first zombie with a Cherry Bomb and 20 Ps to the body, I came to the realization that zombies have strange properties when having this much HP. Zombies cannot survive a lot longer without their head and act as sort of a meat shield for the zombies behind them. But how could that be? Here, let me break it down for you. It's tied to the same reason why zombies take 110 Ps instead of 120. As explained by It's P for P in J-Chan's video, a regular zombie can exist in 3 different stages. A basic zombie in PvZ has 270 health according to the game's code. Also, 1 P deals exactly 20 damage to a zombie. And I know what you must be thinking right now, and yes, the math doesn't really check out here. When Ps deal 20 damage, a zombie should theoretically only have 200 health points, so why does the game's code tell us that he has 270 health? This is because the game doesn't do math in the same way we do. Simply said, a zombie doesn't die right after losing its head. Weird, I know. Instead, his health is divided into 3 different sections. So whenever a zombie loses more than 90 health, he loses 1 arm. Whenever he loses more than, let's say, 180 health, his head will pop. Notice how I said more than 180? This means that 9 Ps is barely not enough to let the zombie enter its final stage. But that's not all. After entering the last phase, a function is called that slowly reduces the zombie's HP over time, almost as if you were to poison him right after losing its head. Normally this only takes a few seconds at most, but since the final 1/3 health of the zombie is so ridiculously high, it will take a very long time for the headless body to poison out. Here is the math, by the way, as to why basic zombies with 12 times more health actually need 109 Ps for anyone interested. And since we cannot kill any coneheads in this level, as they have almost as much health as a Giga Gargantua, we will use the lawnmower trick from before. And with that, we finally arrive at level 1-4, and compared to the levels from before, I really much enjoyed playing this, since Walnut is just such a great plan in this challenge. In level 1-5, I was shocked to see the amount of walnuts a regular conehead zombie would need, which is 7 to be exact, and 2 walnuts for basic zombie. Oh, and Exploder Nut isn't enough to take down the zombies now. Just wanted to point that out. Level 1-6 features pole vaulting zombies, and in this mod they're able to survive 2 entire explosions. While it may seem weird to place my sunflowers in the front, it's my only way of ensuring pole vaulting zombies aren't jumping over my walnuts. 1-7 is where everything suddenly goes downhill. Listen, I've done tons of insane PvZ challenges in the past, but beating level 1-7 with ridiculously overpowered zombies was gonna require some serious strategy. You see, up to this point we've only been confronted with 1 flag levels. This will be our first 2 flag level, and to make matters even worse, we also have to somehow survive into pole vaulting zombies, which, if you haven't noticed, are insanely strong in this challenge. So I came up with a new plan. I said goodbye to my sweet symmetry, and I tried to plant as many sunflowers as I physically could, since running out of sun was a common theme in this level. Many attempts later, I was able to very efficiently make use of my explosives and walnuts, and it resulted into me barely progressing from this very painful level. Okay, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. We are faced with a very difficult dilemma. Chomper, for this challenge, is a really good plant. In fact, it's even too good, since he completely bypasses the entire health buff thing we're kinda doing right here. It's also entirely possible to beat the game with just Chompers alone. So, to prevent me from choosing this entire video, I had to put him in the ban list for this challenge. It should also be worth mentioning that Repeater, despite not looking like it, can actually deal really good damage when combined with Snoopy and Walnuts. The damage will very efficiently accumulate over time. No. Look, I don't know what it is, but for some reason I tend to always get the worst luck at the absolute end of a level, which made part of my soul just die right up front. Okay, so how do we beat 110 with super jacked zombies? The answer is simply Chomper. While we're not allowed to use him in the regular levels, using him in the conveyor levels will be absolutely fine, since the game gives them to us anyways, and since a later level in this challenge would just become absolutely horrendous to beat if we ban Chomper. Don't forget to not place your walnuts in the front, since you want them to survive as long as possible, and because it would make your potato mine placement tedious. Also, try to protect your Chompers at all costs, since they're by far the most important plants in this level, and when using Snoopy to group up all the zombies, you should be able to just barely survive at the end, with most of your lawnmowers intact. And this should mark the end of World 1. Welcome to what I would call the beginning of my nightmares. It's nighttime, and therefore we won't gain any sun that's falling from the sky. Why do I even have to explain this? This mod for some reason does a really good job at increasing the difficulty spike by a lot with each world we are progressing in. Sadly for me, this also means that my ordeal has just begun. We need to use 2 mushrooms now and 1 potato mine to deal with a single basic zombie. And yes, beating level 2-1 was actually kind of easy, thanks to having lawnmowers in a 1 flag level. 2-2 however. Let's just say it took me a whole lot of attempts. Something else that I caught was that even when you have more than $750, Crazy Dave will still pretend that you're broke as fuck. As for level 2-2, it was here where I first started to implement my very first tool assisted method. Let me explain. Every level upon its start will generate a random zombie pattern, which is often referred to as a zombie seed. By using PvZ tools, you can go ahead and check what the exact spawns of your zombies are going to be for that exact level, so you can also check your current run and if it has the necessary RNG needed to win this level. From here it's only a question of restarting a level over and over again until you get an ideal zombie seed, which would only spawn, let's say, 10 counted zombies, like in this case. 2-3 was a 1 flag level, and despite Crazy Dave finally accepting the fact that we now have money, nothing special has happened, so we'll just skip it here. If you thought 2-2 was a hard to beat level, then imagine what the same level would do, but with more greystones and pole vaulting zombies now. With the trick from before, I chose the zombie seed to manipulate my RNG, and after some painfully hard gameplay, I was able to just barely clutch this one out. What changed in Whack a Zombie, you might ask? Well, nothing as for the basic zombies. They still require just 1 smash to take down. Coneheads, however, need 6 whacks, and Buckethead zombies even survive being hit 15 times in the head now. Yikes. As for level 2-6 and 2-7, both feature football zombies now and a whole bunch of gravestones. It would be a shame to cheese football zombies out with hypnoshrooms, right? Well, the short answer is yes. And this is why we'll also put hypnoshroom in our ban list, same as Chomper. Otherwise, we have some good and some bad news. The bad news is that football zombie will survive 10 entire explosions, ranking him in first place out of all the zombies. And for the good news, he's only able to spawn 1 to 2 times in a level, making his encounter extremely rare to say the least. In level 2-8 and 2-9, the gravestones start to become a real pain in the ass, but on the bright side, we now also have access to Doomshroom and Iceshroom, which are easily the best plants in the game, and especially in this mod. Nothing too crazy is happening here, just nice plants doing nice things. As I took down my last zombies, it was finally time to enter the last stage of this world. And to everyone's disappointment, it was by far the easiest X10 level in this entire video. The game literally gives you Iceshrooms, Doomshrooms and Hypnoshrooms. What more do you need to know? Honestly, I started to feel really bad for the zombies now, but I knew this feeling was just temporary, so I prepared myself for what's to come next. Well, here we are. You all already know the drill. Playing pool in any hard challenge just feels like playing Day, but on steroids. Well, yeah, no shit. 3-1 to 3-3 only have 2 flags at most, so we'll quickly skip right through them. The worst thing that you want in this challenge is to fight off big hordes of zombies. Unfortunately though, pool as well as roof have the highest zombie spawn density in the entire adventure. And not having access to Doomshroom as well as Iceshroom anymore is also less than ideal. I would also like to mention that I'm banning Tangled Kelp from this challenge for the same reason Chomper and Hypnoshroom can cheese levels in general. Anyway, I think it's time to face off our very first 3 flag level in this adventure. Luckily though, we have unlocked 2 really good plants by now. I'm talking Squash and Threepeater, which are both a direct upgrade from the previous Potato Mine and Repeater. I also restarted my game until I found a good seed in order to manipulate the RNG of my game again. Even with all of that though, I still lost a few runs before finally being able to get a W. Snowpea and Threepeater can stall you long enough for your lawnmowers, but remember that we don't have access to any pool cleaners yet, so we therefore prioritize defending our pool more at the end. It will be very close, but hey, at least it works. For a welcoming change, this minigame was a lot easier than you might think. Basics and even your coneheads will still die to a singular cherry bomb explosion, and the only zombie that has been buffed and therefore changed here is Football Zombie, which now requires 2 explosions to die instead of 11. Not you again. Who would have thought that a massive tank on wheels that can completely ignore your wall plants would be this good? Sadly, we're just on level 3-6, meaning we don't even have access to spikeweed. This now forces us to use 9 explosives to kill one Zamboni. Thank god I was smart enough to use both of my brain cells to pre-plant a bunch of potato mines in the lane that just lost me a lawnmower. It quite literally ended up saving my life and was just barely enough to kill the second Zamboni. 3-7 thankfully only had us worrying about the 3 flags, since we have access to spikeweeds now, and no, I will not ban spikeweed in this challenge. Just give me a break, man, come on. Anyway, it was actually slightly annoying to bring in my spikeweed, since we're essentially losing out on 1 seed slot, which meant that I was forced to compromise on not bringing any potato mines to the party, which in turn would also worsen my early game. Also, due to the extreme nature of this challenge, I decided to cheat out some money, since this doesn't technically interfere with what we're trying to prove here. It just saves me a lot of valuable time, so I don't have to grind for 50 plus hours. 3-8 and 3-9 can be easily summed up with one sentence. Thank God for tall nut. Well, you only have access to tall nuts in level 3-9, but you get my idea. Tall nut will become one of the most important plants for the next course of this challenge. He not only is a much better plant than walnut is for this challenge, but you can also bring him in combination with walnut, which opens up a lot more possibilities for later setups. And now, I welcome you to the worst level of this entire run so far. 3-10. I'm not even kidding, this level literally took me 2 entire days to beat, even with partial RNG manipulation. Zombies are just way too plentiful, and the game sometimes gives you a lot of trash, in forms of lily pads, 3-peters, torchwoods and spikeweeds when you don't even need them. Because this is an all-out RNG level, and because the outcome of this level is out of my control, I had to do something real quick if I didn't want to lose this challenge right here. I wasn't even coming close to beating this level, so I not only chose my most ideal zombie spawn seed, which looks like this. No, I also ended up save scumming this level, which is another word for setting and loading save states. This way, I could also go back in time and change what plants I would get from the conveyor belt. Something completely determined by RNG. And even with that, it was still very hard for me to find a working solution, but I eventually got it to work after a lot of hard-fought tears and sweat. Okay, here's a little quiz for you guys. Out of all of the levels in this world, what would you even say are the 2 easiest? If you were thinking for 1 and for 2, then you were correct and you've now successfully earned yourself a taco. Well, okay, jokes aside. With having our doom shrooms and ice shrooms back, and also having more seed slots than ever, it's gonna need a whole bunch of broken zombies to even stop us now. And a whole bunch of broken zombies we got. I mean, look at Balloon Zombie. He requires 12 cactus projectiles just for popping his balloon alone. This should prove not to be the biggest problem, however, when you're smart with your item usage, which I clearly wasn't. However, later in this world he will just die to Blover, which, thinking back to it, I should have probably banned myself from using it. Well, at least we are approaching our next hard level now. And with Vasebreaker we encounter another massive stone in our path. Look, we need to talk. Believe it or not, but beating Vasebreaker in this mod is entirely possible. But we're represented with 2 options now. We either get insanely lucky and predict exactly what each and every vase hides in itself, so we get to maximize our value with each resource, or we pretend to be extremely lucky by just revealing what's inside. If this seems dishonest to you, I will apologize for that, but I also want you to remember that we are pushing PvZ to its mathematical limits here, and if a level requires unrealistic RNG to beat, then it's only reasonable to assume that I won't let that stop me from doing this video. In level 4-6 and 4-7 we're introduced to Giga Zombie, and with the amount of HP he has now, it's honestly not even worth to kill him at all. Simply letting him eat 1 row and walk away is the most efficient way at dealing with him. Jack-in-the-box explosion zombies are extremely useless, as they tend to only blow, if anything, a bunch of your mushrooms away, and that's usually it. I also found out that using Snowpea with mushrooms and explosive plants is the best strategy here. Using Starfruit and Split Pea didn't work out that well for me. I used the same strategy for 4-8 and 4-9, and Pogo Zombies would be insanely broken if it weren't for the bane of his existence. Tall Nut. Okay, technically Magnetrum also counters him, but please don't ruin this big moment. Oh, and I quickly wanted to say that if this video gets 2000 likes, I'll be attempting to beat all of the minigames next. Okay, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. How on earth do you even beat 410? I mean, if 310 took us 2 literal days, then what will we do about a level that doesn't even have any explosive plants in its conveyor belt selection? Well, turns out that in order to beat this level, you would need pretty much perfect RNG to happen. You can either achieve that by save scumming a lot, or by playing this level an infinite amount of time. What I ended up doing is changing the plant's distribution in the game's code for this level, and I also disabled the Dark Stormy effect since, first of all, I wasn't able to beat it with the storm on, and second of all, I didn't want the video to just show a black screen that flashes sometimes. Okay, the second reason was an excuse, but hear me out. We've already established that beating this level is practically impossible, since none of the RNG outcomes are realistically feasible. But that doesn't mean that they aren't theoretically possible. And since this video wouldn't exist without the help of RNG manipulation tools, I'll just quickly remind you that everything I do here is still within the realm of possibilities. Take it or leave it, but I don't want to ruin this entire run just because of one badly designed RNG level. And after some unrealistic starfruit and pumpkin luck, we are able to move on to our next and final chapter. It's roof time, and for some reason, this world has been a lot harder than I would have ever imagined. The zombie density is high, and the zombies we're being confronted with are really strong as well. On the bright side, we also have access to a lot of instant plants, which are notorious for being really good and useful for these types of challenges. In level 5.2 and 5.3, I experimented with starfruit, and I came to the conclusion that despite it being a very strong strategy in most PvZ mods, it just couldn't compete with the power of walnut stall into explosions. The zombies are just too beefy, and you end up being forced to constantly repair your starfruits in the front because the stupid roof slope exists. Using starfruit, especially in combination with Snoopy, is just a waste of seed slots when compared to any explosive strategy. It's working here because the game has only thrown 2 flight levels at us, but that will change now. After observing the failure of my previous starfruit setup, I for some reason decided to go for a Snoopy Magnetrum combo. It failed, so then I had to drop a new strategy with a bunch of Gloomtrooms, and it surprisingly even worked. It turns out that even when the zombies are stronger than the guy she keeps telling you not to worry about, they're still weak to Gloomtroom. You must also obtain a good Ice Shroom and Doomshroom cycle if you want to beat this. The easiest way to use it is by using your Ice Shroom whenever your Doomshroom is recharged by 50% and vice versa. And since football zombies will spawn so rarely in this level, we simply save our seed slot for a more useful and impactful plant other than Magnetrum. 5.5 was essentially the same minigame, just with weaker cherry bombs, but as mentioned in the first world, Chomper is really good at cheesing this challenge. I would like to think that Chomper actually isn't that bad of a plan when it comes to vanilla PvZ, but that he instead is just a worse version of any attacking long-range plant in the game because of how pathetically weak the zombies are. 5.6 and 5.7 featured Catapult Zombie, and oh boy was he strong. You can judge for yourself, but all I say is that he survives 3 entire cherry bomb explosions now. He also has the ability to two-shot our plants, which is a remnant of the Giga mod. Despite all of that, you can still counter him with the insane amount of damage your Gloomshroom deals by planting him in either columns 8 or 7, and with Garlic this even becomes easier. Don't forget to use your tallnuts in the back to prevent the Catapult Zombies from annihilating your defense. Combining this with Doomshroom and Ice Shroom, and we have ourselves a recipe for winning this level. We are in 5.8 and 5.9 currently, and it's just fantastic to have a Gigantua that needs 20 explosions to die. Holy shit! Forget ever killing this monster. Thankfully though, the game only spawns 1 to 2 Gigantuas at us, so we're able to stop him with our good old lawnmowers. At this point I'm convinced that using lawnmowers in any war is considered being a war crime. Well, anyways. The last level was very hard to beat, since you also have to fend off Catapult Zombies. Because we essentially need every single seed slot to beat this level, we are not able to bring in Umbrella Leaves at all, so I resorted to using my tallnuts in the bag as a versatile option. Despite everything though, this was still the hardest level in this entire world, considering how low your margin of error is. We approach the absolute final level in this entire challenge, and sadly it's another RNG based conveyor belt level. Because of the massive RNG needed to beat the final boss, I had to resort into my RNG manipulation method again, just for proving that it's still mathematically possible to beat the boss, since conveyor belt levels unfortunately aren't made for this challenge. I'm also exploiting 2 additional game mechanics to make this fight possible. As already mentioned in my PvZ flip video, we let all the lanes but one trigger all lawnmowers, and since zombies can't spawn in the lane that has recently lost a lawnmower for 2 waves, and because we have no wave progression in the final boss, you essentially eliminate that lane from any zombie spawns during the entirety of the fight. We also choose lane 1 for the lane that we keep alive, because of the fact that Gigantros by default cannot ever spawn in lane 1, outside of all of the survival game mods of course. Meant as a quality of life change to prevent you from seeing your seed slots, can be used here to completely stop them from spawning, and since that's 20 less jalapenos we need to worry about, it really matters here. Something else I'd like to mention is that Zomboss originally had 12 times his HP, but after I realized that it would literally take me hours to win even without dying once, I've reverted his health back to the Giga mod's health, which is twice the health of the original Zomboss. Considering we've already choosing the RNG of the conveyor belt level, it's safe to say that beating Zomboss with 12 times health is entirely possible, it just takes you a lot longer. So, can you beat Plants vs Zombies with 12 times stronger zombies? The answer is technically yes, but considering how much unrealistic RNG you need for most of the conveyor belts, it's reasonable to say that if you were ever to try this challenge for yourself, that you should simply skip all of the conveyor belts. A huge thank you to BinPVZ and to Booby for being our channel members for the longest time. I really much appreciate the support. Go check out my last video in case you've missed it, it would mean the world to me if you could also give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.